Time does not stand still for those skinny of wallet and high of expectations, and so if you, like me, want to see the latest in affordable time-telling wristwear, you've come to the right place. Stay to the end for the newest, coolest, bargainist watch of all. When I grew up, it was on the mean streets of London. Yes, for those looking at my gazebo-like frame or misleadingly handsome voice. Believe it or not, but I grew up in a part of England's capital so rough you could file bricks with it. But this town rat eventually became a country mouse, not least of all because I didn't want the roof over my head to cost more than I actually earned. I wanted to save some money for watches, and what better watch to reflect my diasporic existence than the Seiko SK0230 and 025. Okay, so to suggest I need a GMT function to live 2 hours outside of London is a bit strong even for watch buying logic, but here's the bit that really counts. This watch from the Seiko 5 Sports Collection is classified under Field Street Style. I'd hoped among hopes that my time would come, but I never truly dared to believe. In 023 form, it's a stainless steel field watch at 36.4mm wide and 13.6mm thick, with red accents, and as the 025, it's got a black hard coating as it's described, and orange accents. The bare steel watch gets a 5-link bracelet and the black one a fabric strap, presumably for more of that detail we've all been looking for. Tactical awesomeness. Nothing says office by day, special forces by night than a fabric strap on your watch and an unnecessarily large knife tucked up against the banana in your briefcase. The 4R34 inside makes it the first GMT field watch from Seiko, and the Hardlex crystal and 100-meter water resistance mean it should be strong enough to withstand both the bleak isolation of the field and the pointy stabby knives of the street. Prices start about a ton short of a monkey. As many of us have just recently enjoyed Enforced Affection Day, often referred to by makers of small boxes of expensive chocolates everywhere as Valentine's Day, we will have endured the ritualistic markups of basic consumer items in the name of not sleeping on the couch. For those who can only dream of being kicked out of bed by anyone but themselves, self-proclaimed egotist Seconde has got your back. This one's for the downtrodden, the rejected, the heartbroken and the inconsolable. This is the Timex loser. Seems harsh, but the derision is firmly, as the dial will attest, aimed at your former lover, aka that hard big fucker slut. In his cheeky but darling way, Seconde has rearranged the Timex logo on this Q Timex to spell My Ex, with a technique familiar to any third-generation owner of a set of fridge magnets. The Q has been replaced with an L, and to clarify, a hand in the classic loser pose has replaced the centiseconds. But there's a catch, and it's not for the faint of heart, because whilst most of the day is spent throwing shade at those around you, every minute on the minute, this Timex is going to betray your trust and brand you, yes you, as the loser. In case the wounds weren't still painfully fresh, it's a stark reminder that you still can't trust anyone, least of all that The watch comes in stainless steel or a gold tone plated stainless steel, both at 38mm and powered by quartz for £220 and £225 respectively. A loving, committed relationship with a respectful human being is sold separately. Sweater fans everywhere clamoured at the news that our Lord and Saviour himself, Mr. Ben Clymer, would be releasing his own watch. Not a Hodinkee branded watch, since he sold the rights to that for parts for an ongoing Porsche restoration, but one under his own name. Was it to be with Lange, Patek, AP? No, it's the G-Shock 5600 by Ben Clymer. I once met Ben briefly in a hotel room in Geneva. Few words were spoken and it ended in an awkward exit, but I'm pretty sure that's normal. Since then, he's been a vision to us all of what would happen if Harry Potter gave up the magic and started collecting watches instead. Okay, enough fun. We're talking about watches after all. Ben has stood as a figurehead in the industry for as long as I can remember, and was really the first inkling I got that other people were just as weird as I am. It was Hodinkee that inspired me to pick up the microphone and start spitting lines about the differences between the 1675 and the 116710. And so it seems rather fitting that 15 years of Ben being Ben are celebrated with a watch that almost everyone can afford, a $185 Casio. It's in grey, which is Ben's favourite colour, and has a green tinted display to match the dreamy pools that are his eyes. NYC and ATL on the dial are nods to Hodinkey's bases and TYO for Casio's. And of course, like the city in which Hodinkey was founded, the watch is branded not once, but for being so damn good, they named it twice. On the back reads the inscription Esse quam videri, which is a nod to every collector's pain, translated as to wait indefinitely. Okay, fine. The green is the green from the 2018 Hodinkey collaboration with IWC. The double Casio is from the first Rolex Daytona with a double Swiss insignia, and the inscription means to be rather than to seem, as found on Henry Graves' Patek Philippe's. Also, if you press the illumination button, the Hodinkey symbol appears. Do it 3 times and Ben Clymer can be found right there in your hotel room too. Oh dang, it's Timex time again, because they're really working hard to relieve us of our money. This time it's with the Marlin Jet, which isn't just the lineup of the much anticipated final showdown of 1992's hottest game show Gladiators, but a modern reimagining of one of Timex's oldest and most successful collections, the Marlin. If the Marlin is a sweet love poem in honour of the elegance and beauty of the golden era, the Marlin Jet is a Miyota-powered monster truck with flaming exhausts and a rocket launcher that fires electric guitars. You know it's interesting when much of the immediate reaction can be described with words like flinch and recoil. But now the dust has settled and the pearls have been unclutched, it's time to take a closer look. Yeah, looks fine. I don't know what all the fuss was about. It's 38mm in stainless steel, so still reasonably sized, but is differentiated by the striking band that's tucked into the inner edge of the Hesalite crystal, which reaches up and over and down the case sides just a little bit. On the band, front and centre if you're looking at the watch on a tilt, just in case you forget, is the word Marlin. We should be thankful it doesn't say jet as well. The dark blue stripes through the hands and markers are a neat touch, as well as the deep insets in the chapter ring and subdial. And at £279, it's great to see some interesting new design emerging from budget watchmakers that isn't just the exact same stuff we've already seen before. The biggest gripe with the makers of our next watch, Furlan Marri, wasn't the design, which was plucked straight from the wonder years of Patek Philippe, wasn't the quality, which sparkled and glistened like a freshly washed dog, and wasn't the price, which topped around £600, it was the movement. To bring the price of this cute chronograph down to a tempting amount, a Seiko Mecha Quartz movement was fitted to give it a mechanical feel for the price of a quartz. For many, many people, this was acceptable. For some, it was not, and for them, there's this, the same watch, but with a mechanical movement instead. It's literally what people asked for, and yes, there are some subtle design changes like the elliptical pushers, capped hands, and numerals of the Roman variety, but for the most part, it's the same, except now you have to wind it. That's because inside is the Sellita AMT 5100, an automatic chronograph modified to be manually wound only. Why would they do such a thing? Because with the rotor weight and its ancillaries removed, the watch can be a lot thinner. How thin? Well, the Mecha Quartz watch was, to complement its 38mm diameter, just 11.3mm thick. With the neutered Sellita, it's just 10.9mm thick. That's a lot thinner than it would have been carrying all that extra load about, and without it, it's closer to the hand-wound experience from back in the 30s when Patek Philippe made it. There's still an extra trick up the Furlan Marri's sleeve yet, because the chronograph isn't, much like me playing the special levels in Super Mario, your standard start-stop reset job. It gets a flyback as well. There are 3 colours at 2,750 Swiss francs each, and 2 of those have already sold out. That is, unless you want the box set of 3 for $9,500. Everyone's favourite children's TV presenter is back with his first ever wristwatch, the Mad Watch Collector x Radcliffe Mad Hacker Field Watch. Since Russell refuses to wear any watch that can't trace its lineage back to war, it makes perfect sense that the Mad Hacker Field Watch is indeed a field watch. Borrowing from those first 1940s World War II field watches, whose existence were determined by a technical specification from the US Armed Forces titled 94-27834B and RS/Prov/4373A for the British Armed Forces, they were supplied by the likes of Elgin, Bulova, Waltham, Omega, IWC, JLC, and more. As directed by the governance, they shared a series of common traits: black dial, big readable numbers, broad hands, and enough luminous paint for an orbital world tour. A selection of these original British military field watches is incredibly sought after, with 12 brands contributing through the Second World War. There's so many, in fact, that remembering them all really requires writing them down, which is why these 12 watches have inspired an association with the famous war film, Schindler's List. The Mad Hacker does indeed enjoy all those field watch features, as well as packing in 100 meters of water resistance thanks to a screw-down crown. Get used to using that because it is, in keeping with the originals, manually wound, the rotor weight lobbed off the Miyota 9039 to give the 36mm watch a 9.5mm thickness. Whatever your thoughts are on the Mad Hacker, I want to say congratulations to Russell for taking a chance and making his own watch. Do you think I should make my own watch, but with blackjack and hookers? Despite popular belief, the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch isn't the only watch that featured on the set of Stanley Kubrick's extraterrestrial adventure. In fact, it wasn't featured in it at all, with the only watch seen in 2001: A Space Odyssey being a custom Hamilton. For the moon landings, however, Omega would have to begrudgingly share the accolade of making a watch worn on the lunar surface as of August 2nd, 1971, when astronaut Dave Scott wore another during the Apollo 15 mission. That was the Bulova Lunar Pilot, the other moonwatch. Unlike the astronomical prices of the Omega entry, however, Bulovas start at a far more down-to-earth £429. If that's simply too pedestrian for you, however, you can crank that up to £1,195 for this limited edition Meteorite version. Dressed in a fetching piece of Scandinavian space debris, the acid-etched surface reveals the flaky filaments of the Widmanstatten pattern, which can only exist because it takes tens of millions of years to cool off. A bit like my wife after I leave the bathroom light on for the 100th time. In case you were wondering, this alien pebble has a name: Muonionaluster. I don't suggest you try to spell it because you can't. It's scientifically impossible. What isn't scientifically impossible is to double down on space nerdery and have a real piece of cosmic gravel in your real moonwatch for a fraction of the price of the other, more famous prop. Watch. So now the 50 Fathoms has been saved and Blancpain is overwhelmed by demand. It's about time Swatch gave in and offered up the plastic version of everyone's favourite dive watch that isn't the Rolex Submariner, in a colour that doesn't look like Play-Doh. This is the Blancpain x Swatch 50 Fathoms Ocean of Storms. If you'll recall, each original series Blancpain x Swatch 50 Fathoms was based on a sea bogey from every ocean, with its corresponding "don't eat me" colours reflected in the eye-melting choice of shades available. Unlike the Moon Swatch before it, the most annoying part was that they didn't give the Blancpain x Swatch 50 Fathoms a short name, and so since the little sea critters on the back look so gross they could have come straight from the set of the recent Little Mermaid remake, from now on I'm going to call it the Disney Fathoms. What was also annoying about the Disney Fathoms was that unless you wanted to look like Dora the Explorer's acid adventure, you were out of luck. But that's all changed because the Ocean of Storms is here to offer a version in real colours, like black and white. But there's a problem that the most nautically minded know-it-alls will have already spotted. Swatch has already blown every ocean on the original, so what's left to christen this stealthy-looking shifty Fathoms with? For that, we're leaving Earth, and like the plucky little Russian lander, Lunar 25, plummeting nose first into the moon to make another hot mess. The Shifty Fathoms is indeed named after the Oceanus Procellarum, aka the Ocean of Storms, found on the western edge of the near side of the moon, a picture of which is to be found on the System 51 movement in back. It's a stretch as far as the moon itself, except for one little detail. The aquatic phlegm depicted on this edition is a little black and white yellow fellow that goes by the name of Ochenea Lunar. Yes, lunar, like the moon. Synergy. This next release is so hot off the press it hasn't even been printed yet, because everyone's favourite set of teeth Daniel Ricciardo has been spotted in pre-season press material wearing a brand new watch from the team's brand new sponsor, Tudor. Yes, the former Alpha Tauri, former Toro Rosso, now Visa Cash App Racing Bull's Formula 1 team has got a better watch sponsor than main team Red Bull. That'll be something else for Max's dad to be disappointed with him about. I didn't even know Visa had a Cash App, and now I do. It'll be just as successful as the Alpha Tauri clothing brand. Good work, guys. Meanwhile, Daniel's just anxiously wondering what's going to stop him driving the car this year as he models what looks to be a version of the black ceramic Black Bay, but with the colour in what I can only imagine is Visa Cash App Racing Bulls blue. Tudor has already sponsored Red Bull's America's Cup endeavours, so I imagine it's just waiting for the main Red Bull team sponsor Tag Heuer to be distracted with something dumb like, I don't know, an eyewear range, for it to swoop in and take over. I love Formula 1 and I think Tudor's pretty decent too, so I'm looking forward to good things from this pairing. Like paddock passes for the Silverstone Grand Prix, please? Tudor? No? I was literally just sitting here thinking, right, I'm bored of watches now, there's nothing else interesting out there, I'm going to take up base jumping. And out of the blue, pink, purple and green pops up a watch from Baltic that's made me reconsider. Baltic are well known for its affordable renditions of vintage classics, given enough jiggery pokery so there are no "oh come on" levels of homagery. Those are rather nice and have served many watch buyers well, and even with fleeting moments of genius like the Micro Rotor MR01, I don't think anyone expected whatever all this is. It's called the Prismic Collection and it takes inspiration from the shattered light that emanates from a prism. Pink Floyd fans will be itching at this point to tell other people about Pink Floyd. It's a 36mm watch which dons a Swiss manually wound Peso 7001 for a 7.4mm thickness, discounting the height of the crystal. And speaking of crystal, the Prismic looks like someone shattered a window at St. Paul's and emptied it into a watch. There's a wealth of angles, facets, edges, cuts, cracks and crevices to make a watch that looks every bit like Liberace's lemon juicer. Even a cultural crackhead like me knows that this is based on the incredible Art Deco era, and it makes me very happy to see more watches that dare to do something more than just tell the time in the most mind-numbing way possible. And it seems like Baltic have upped their game accordingly, with smart details like the applied subdial ring and sculpted hands. They've also upped their price too, with the Prismic cap in hand for €1,050. That's a wrap on the newest, coolest, bargainest watches. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and you can support me by picking up something from my shop just below the video. And don't forget to show your dominance on the highway by sitting right there in the middle lane. Goodbye.